Hey, what's up, everybody? The XRP ETF looks like it just launched. There's one of them. I think it was Canary or something. So we could see right here. The first, it's only one, right? Remember, it's only one. There's a bunch of them. You got the BlackRock one, you got different ones, right? So this one's called Canary XRP ETF. It's the first one. It's not even a real big one. So yeah, Eleanor Terra, new as of 5:30. Canary Funds XRP ETF is officially effective after Nasdaq certified the listing, clearing XRPC for launch tomorrow at market open. Well, there you go. We got the first XRP ETF, and who would have thought it was on my mom's birthday? If I would have just known that. Okay, so cool. We got. Hey, there you go. That's one piece of ammunition. Now, you can say, "Oh, well, why is the price dumping? It should be exploding." Well, look, when you have a move up, and then you get a move down, and then you get a retrace, and then you get news here. It doesn't matter if it's good news or bad news. Well, sometimes it matters, but in this case, it was good news. This was a sell the news event, right? So the news, oh, XRP ETF, so now we're coming down. But when we come down, we're creating a three-wave move, right? So we have three waves up, and we're going to get three waves down, like we've been talking about, probably back down to 220 or so, and then go up in five waves. So could we get a little double bottom here? Yeah, but it's not likely because these are engulfing candles. If they were candles like that, maybe so, right? So if we zoom out, you could see it's pretty bearish. At least this wave is right here. So let's zoom in here. It actually looks like it could be bottoming in here. Kind of looks like you got a little bit of some divergence coming in here. So let's see if we get a little bit of a bounce. That's a pretty big aggressive move. So the ETF launched like right here. I think you got this pump and then you took it back. So sell the news, right? You buy the rumor, which is XRP ETF, and then you sell the news. So it's just a sell the news event. But the real fun happens when we start getting the other ETF approvals, and once we find, some strong support, because we're still ranging in here, right? We're still ranging, and we want this range to develop before the XRP ETF becomes launched. So, for example, if I zoom out and basically, we're holding support in here, but if we could kind of build some structure in here and then start pushing and breaking out, and then that's when the XRP ETF comes live, that could really accelerate it to the upside. But if it's in the middle of this consolidation, it kind of low-key came out. It wasn't like a big news event. So I didn't even really know about it until this morning. So yeah, let's see how it continues to play out. They did some record volume in the first 30 minutes, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to take some time. You're going to have to beef up this base here. You see how beefy that looks, right? We're going to need some more structure in there. So, as a matter of fact, all we have to do just to have the look, right, is just do that. And then come over here a little bit. There we go. Something like that, right? Where we're kind of beefing up this range right in here. And then that could lead us out. So, yeah, let's see how it continues to play out. I sent a letter to President Trump. And, I mentioned XRP and I mentioned the central banks. And basically, I said this. Dear Mr. President Trump, I have a question I've been wanting to ask for 8 years, but no reporter would ever dare ask it. Before I ask it, I want to thank you so much for what you've done and how much you sacrificed to do it. Your name will be forever etched in the pillars of history as the patriot who saved our country. My question is, how can you trust the people's economy that you are tirelessly building when that economy is essentially being built on top of a financial system that is broken? You know exactly what I'm talking about, the Federal Reserve central banking fiat currency system, Mr. President. You've battled the banks your whole life through your real estate ventures and learned a lot about how bad the banking system is. My question is, why can't we take our monetary system away from the Federal Reserve and transition it to the Treasury Department and get rid of the Federal Reserve debt note and get a real United States dollar, a real dollar through the Treasury, not a debt note, and then take the gold we have and back our beautiful US dollar with God's money, gold, aka the gold standard, and then put it on a decentralized blockchain. No, not a CBDC, which is totally unconstitutional. By the way, the Federal Reserve is also extremely unconstitutional, and our founding fathers warned against an entity like the Federal Reserve. But no reporter will ever ask you about the evils of the Federal Reserve system. Yes, that system has allowed America to be so dominant through our U.S. military, but at what point does it end? Can we please sign an executive order dismantling the Federal Reserve Act and transitioning our financial system back to we the people? No, not a private central bank who does not have our best interest at mind, only itself and its own system. The most important thing in the United States for everyday Americans is the money. It's all about the money. So you could fix the border, you could fix the military, you could fix all these other things, and you can undo all the damage Biden has done. But until we fix our broken money system, people are going to feel pain. Yes, inflation is down, but our money system is still broken, and it only favors the rich. If you truly want to unify the country, you have to do it with the common denominator, which is money. If you could fix the money, you can fix everything. It should be make money great again, right? Instead of make America great again. America's already great. America will be great. But the way you make America really great is you make the money great. Also, I wish we could spend more time on American blockchain companies. For example, Ripple and its native token XRP, because that is just one example of many that can fix our broken financial system. I'm not saying destroy all the banks. I'm saying, can't we take blockchain technology and make the banks accountable? Also, I know it would be difficult, but transition this big, beautiful ship to a gold standard. But we can't do that until we settle our trade negotiations, because we don't want to be forfeiting all of our gold, right? Once you go to a gold standard, it doesn't work. You got to, be on a fair system. So I think he's working out all the kinks, and I think that's what he's going to do. And yes, I did send this to President Trump officially. You can contact the president. You got to go to the White House website, and I actually urge you guys to do this. Go to the White House website, and then there's a part, you got to hit contact the president. And who knows if he's going to read it? He probably gets millions a day, but I'm sure someone's going to maybe go through it, right? They have to for security reasons. Because what if I wrote like, I was going to assassinate, the president? If I wrote that, then obviously, they're going to read it, right? You know what I mean? So they're going to take it very seriously. Who knows if he'll get to hear it? But essentially, fingers crossed, right? So I strongly urge you guys to write the president and write him and say, look, why can't we get rid of the Federal Reserve Act? Why can't we transition to a gold system? Why can't we use XRP? Why can't we use Ripple? Why can't we use American blockchain companies like Ripple to fix our broken financial? That's a good one right there. Why can't we use, Mr. President, our broken financial system is tearing this country apart. Why can't we fix our broken financial system with American blockchain fintech companies like, for example, Ripple, and use the native token XRP, right? I mean, you know what I mean? You can get a little crafty with how you want to word it, but basically include the Fed, include gold, and include Ripple in whatever you're writing. And yeah, just type it out. And I actually did not type this all out. I talk text, right? I don't ever, if I'm writing more than 4 words, I'm talk texting, right? So there's a little microphone on your keyboard, and you just hit the little microphone, and then you can speak. And so you don't have to sit there and type all of these words out, which is insane. So yes, definitely. And then ask them also about crypto. Say, hey, what do you think about XRP? What do you think about crypto? What do you think about going to a gold standard? Or just ask him about anything. Ask him about THETA. He's not going to know about THETA, but ask him something about how we can fix our financial system, right? Anyways, so I officially sent it to him, and then I said, I believe, where was I? Why can't we transition this big, beautiful ship to a gold standard? But we can't do that until we settle our trade negotiations, because we can't be forfeiting all of our gold. I believe that you believe that I am correct when referencing how bad the Federal Reserve System actually is for everyday Americans. If you look at the chart, the US dollar, since the Federal Reserve creation, it has been going down ever since, right? You may not notice because you've been extremely rich your entire life, but for everyday Americans, it is a struggle. And I know you know the struggle because you care a lot about Americans. I've been following you since The Celebrity Apprentice, and since, you got to kiss his butt a little bit, because, you got to, you want him to read it. You can't be like, yo, why can't you do this and you're doing a bad job. He's not going to listen. You got to kind of do it in a, you're writing the President of the United States. You got to be a little bit formal. And I totally butchered the text with no commas and not the right pronunciation. I mean, look at this. I put a period and then I put a capital A. I don't think you're supposed to do that. But anyway, I know you know the struggle because you care a lot about Americans and blah blah blah. I've been following you since the Celebrity Apprentice, and since then I've been a massive fan, and I want you to. And then when you went down the escalator, I knew you were going to win. I'm completely in love with your brain, and you have a beautiful genius in how to win and the strategy it takes to win. And I believe you use the art of war. People don't realize the plan you have in place. I trust the plan. I trust you, Mr. President. And look, as far as his strategy goes, people think they listen to Trump and they think he's a babbling buffoon. They don't think he's smart. They think he gets up there and they think he's just some kind of tough New Yorker, and he's got his little New Yorker talk, and he's up there and he's just kind of ranting and raving. But people don't realize he's actually really smart if you understand the genius behind how he decides what to do. I mean, and if you don't believe me, just look at the track record. I mean, he's just been winning and winning and winning and winning, right? As terms of political, right? Beating the Democrats, he had the greatest comeback in American history. But I believe that comeback was planned. I believe that he knew he was going to have to step aside, and he knew Biden was going to have to take the White House, because it had to go that way because of certain things, like the war in Ukraine and other stuff like that. The inflation would have came, because if Trump would have won in 2020, which he did win, but if he would have took office, we would have still had record inflation, and it would have been a bad thing. So I think he knew it was going to come. He forecasted it, and then he put Biden in there to take the fall, which it wasn't really his fault. And I don't blame Biden necessarily for the inflation, because the government's been recklessly spending money all the time. So, just look at COVID, right? But even before that. So anyways, people don't realize that the plan you have in place, I trust the plan, I trust you, Mr. President, for dismantling the deep state system layer by layer and exposing it for what it is, a fraud, a rigged system. But the ultimate fraud has yet to be revealed, the Federal Reserve central banking system. Damn it, I forgot to tell him about the audit. Can we please also audit the Federal Reserve? I know you have to fix other problems first before you get to the ultimate problem. Thank you for not being politically correct. We love you. God bless you. So there it is right there. So I have no idea if he's going to write it or not. But the reason I wanted to read it out loud is because that's the real deal right there. I mean, there's nothing more important than what I just said. Name one thing. You could say, oh, Gaza and Israel. This is like peanuts. Like, who cares about that? I don't even care about that. Like, no, who cares? I mean, we should care, right? Obviously, we don't want to see people die, but you know what I mean? It's not what my and your family is concerned about, right? What are we concerned about? We're concerned about, how valuable is our wealth? Everybody has X amount of dollars, but those dollars fluctuate in value, right? So the ultimate thing on the planet, in terms of what everyone can agree on, is one thing: it's money. Money is, they could say, oh, money's the root of all evil, but it's not. It's really the love of money is the root of all evil. But basically, what I just told the president is probably the most important thing you can ever ask, which is the real deal, which is the Federal Reserve central banking system, right? He talks about Nancy and Chuck and the Democrats and the fake news and the border and China, but, those are big things, but they don't compare to what the adults in the room are talking about, which is the biggest problem in existence, which is a entity that is allowed to control basically every aspect of our monetary system, which is really the interest rates, right? They print money out of thin air. Mr. President, they print money out of thin air. They loan it to the government with interest attached. Then we, the taxpayer, have to pay it back plus interest. What sort of rigged deal is that? It's a rigged deal. So why do we allow it? If you look at the founding fathers, they've written many quotes about that. Oh my God, right here, Thomas Jefferson, bro. Why, if I'm a reporter, right, I would go up to President Trump and I would show him this quote. I would say, do you know who Thomas Jefferson is, Mr. President? Oh yeah, of course I do. He's our founding father. He's awesome. He's great. He's amazing. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Did you know that he said the issuing power of money should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs? Did you know he said that? Okay, so what does that mean? That means taking the power of the Federal Reserve and giving it to the Treasury. Because the Treasury Department, right, is picked by who? The president. And we pick the president. So we elected, we didn't elect Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. President Trump appointed him. But we elected Trump to elect him, right? So the Treasury, it should go through the Treasury. Why do we need the Fed? Like, why can't the Treasury create the currency? I don't understand. So that's the problem, right? And we do understand. We know why, because it's the way they can control everything, right? So if you look right here, he goes, Thomas Jefferson, I wish it were possible to obtain a single amendment to our Constitution. I would be willing to depend on that alone for the reduction of the administration of our government to the genuine principles of its Constitution. I mean, an additional article taking from the federal government the power of borrowing, right? This is what it's all about. 37 trillion, okay? You got $37 trillion in debt. Do you think that's by design? Yes. Why? Because the borrower is subservient to the lender. Okay, who's the lender? The Fed. So who's the borrower? We are. So who's the Smurf? Who's the fall guy? We are, right? So that's the problem. And you may not notice it. You may think, well, I don't know. I don't understand. I have a job. I make money. I pay my bills. I'm doing okay. I can afford things. But you don't understand. You think you have a lot, but you really don't, right? Because let me explain it. If you made what you made, if you go back to 1953 and you earned the same amount you did then as you do now in 1953, you would have, you would have a lot. You would have a beautiful house. You would have 2 cars. You would have a boat. You would have a motorcycle. You would have 2 properties. You would have your stock profile, your stock, what's the word? Portfolios, right? You would have a lot. But now, like mom and dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, they all live in the same house. Grandma, grandpa, right? And they're all trying to pitch into one family household because everything is so expensive, right? It's the value of the money. That is the problem, right? It used to be where you would work at a regular job. Let's say you're a mechanic and you work at just a regular mechanic shop. Okay. Well, you should be able to afford a house right now. You should be able to leave right now and go buy a house. You can't. You can't. Houses are so expensive, right? Especially here in Southern California. You're looking at $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $900,000 for a freaking house, which is insane. Like it's just freaking wood, and it's like, what is this? Most houses are, it's insane. So why is that? The materials, the location, right? But it's really about, the real reason why people can't afford anything is because the value of the dollar is terrible. He says right here, I sincerely believe with you that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. Man, they used to have a proper English back then. See, that's another thing too. There's 2 things. If I was running for president, I would focus on 2 things. There's only 2 things in the world that has to be focused on in order to make America the best, which is what? Number 1, by far, is the financial system, right? The money system, right? Number 2, you know what that is? The education system, right? So if we could fix the money system, the financial system, and we can fix the education system, which is terrible. Look at China. You got these little 7-year-old kids doing freaking trigonometry. Like, what the actual is happening here? Like, they're little human calculators. Like, how is that even possible? Right? Because they have discipline. They know how to teach kids, right? The kids nowadays, they don't listen. They're distracted by, they're becoming desensitized because there's so much stimulation. There's video games and there's VR and there's TV, there's all kinds of things, YouTube, there's all kinds of things that are hyper stimulating, right? And then you go to school and then you have to be bored in class, and then you don't learn because your brain is off, because your brain is firing, your neurons are firing rapidly when it's being stimulated by whatever. But if you're in a classroom, those neurons aren't firing the same, which means you're not retaining the same information you would be retaining. So the education system is terrible, right? and the financial system is as well. So you go, well, why am I talking about this? This has nothing to do with crypto. And I would say you're wrong. I'd say, yes, it totally has everything to do with crypto, because crypto is the solution to the financial problem, not the solution to the education problem, but it is a solution. So, and this is why crypto is so important, because we've been looking at this XRP chart for a long time, and essentially, this is going to be, in my opinion, one of the biggest moves we've ever seen. Now, we don't know exactly when that's going to be, but you could see XRP has been battling for 8 years a massive range in here, right? So the reason why we're going to do better than most people, think about all the people that don't own crypto, that don't understand the financial system, that don't know what the Fed is, that don't know exactly what Trump is trying to do. They're brainwashed. They're mindless sheep, right? So, thank God we have crypto, because that at least can give people a little bit of freedom to put their money, because we don't have any options, right? We have to use the dollars. We have to use the currency that we're given, that we work for. Everybody works, everybody makes money, and that money is not real money. It's basically their debt notes, and that debt note is to be paid back plus interest. So it doesn't matter. So what you do is you take the debt and you transition it into something like XRP, or a stock, maybe Walmart stock, Amazon stock, whatever stock, because like Warren Buffett knows, why would I hold a dollar bill as it continues to die when I can hold, Facebook, when I could hold Netflix, when I can hold Tesla, you know what I mean? Nvidia or XRP. So, this is the whole point, right? We have to instead of always working for money, we have to have our money working for us. So continuing to buy XRP in here with the expectation of it's going to break up, right? Because just look at the chart. I mean, if you don't think this is going to break up, obviously once this wave finishes, right? Bearishly speaking, we could come down, to $1.31, even $1. So if we really, really, really had to, we have a lot of support right here in our retrace block, right? Also the back test of this level. So if this is 3 down, and that's 3 up, and this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, that's a 3, 3, 5. That's an expanded flat. We could then build a base and then go up in 5 waves, right? So that could happen now, that could happen later, or that could happen much later. But either way, it's going to happen. So knowing that at some point it will for sure happen, what do? I just continue to invest. I continue to buy and buy and buy, right? Because why would if I made $1, let's say I made $5 today, would I take that $5 and put it in the bank? Or would I take that $5 and spend it? Or would I take that $5 and invest it? I don't need the $5. I don't need it. So if I don't need it, then invest it, right? But you have to have the expectation that, hey, maybe my $5 could get depreciated down to $3, right? But then I know eventually it will go and appreciate itself up to $10. You know what I mean? So again, there's nothing more important on this planet as far as people's livelihoods go. Obviously, your family, your, people obviously are the most important. But second to that is our financial system. Without it, we would fall into chaos, because And when that system has been corrupted and that system has totally destroyed people's families. I mean, just look at Detroit. Just go to Detroit and look at it. Look at the city. It used to be, a really good car city. They would build cars, and it used to be popping. It used to be, and not look at Baltimore. Look at all these cities. They used to be strong, and now you look at them, and they're wastelands, and it looks like a zombie apocalypse, right? Why? Because the industry has left. Why? Because the money sucks. Why would I spend $20 to build a toy when I can spend $10 in China and build the same toy? Because the value of our money is terrible. It's stronger than China, right? That's what China devalues their currency. They actually want to inflate more, because the more they inflate, the more they can have currency manipulation, right? And devaluation. So at the end of the day, we the people are screwed no matter what. So what options do we have? We have literally no options except one: crypto. Because crypto is actually designer. You know how they call it like marijuana a drug, cocaine a drug, and then they say, oh, well, this drug is a designer drug. It's a designer. They call it a designer drug. I don't know what the hell that means. Right? But that's what I would call like a Federal Reserve debt note is fake money. But crypto is a designer money. It's a designer drug, right? So the design itself, Bitcoin's design, XRP design, basically, you have proof of work, proof of stake, all these different things. But at the end of the day, it's better than what we have now. And you can't rig it. You can't manipulate it. You can't, that's why I think decentralized finance is going to be such a big thing. And that's why the Trump family is focusing all of their wealth, not on real estate anymore, but on crypto. And they built a DeFi platform called World Liberty Financial. Why do you think they did that? Because DeFi is a direct competitor to CeFi, which is centralized finance, right? So I think we're going to live in an autonomous, I think banks and the financial system are going to be eventually autonomous, meaning the interest rates are going to be controlled by supply and demand. So whatever the demand for money is versus, people receiving money versus people spending money, that ratio will dictate what the interest rate will be for loans. And it'll all be decentralized. And the loans will be cheaper because you don't have to pay a brick and mortar place like Chase Bank or Wells Fargo or Bank of America, where they actually have a literal building full of employees that they have to pay. And where do they get the money? Your money. They loan your money out. And basically a deposit is bullshit. A deposit means that they have legal right over your money and they can lend it out and make money off of your money. Why would I put $100 in the bank when they are making money off of my money when I can make money off of my money? Does that make any sense? Right? So instead of having all your money in a bank, I recommend keeping it. I can't recommend anything, but not financial advice. I could be wrong. But I like to keep mine in stable coins. Right? And I'm earning a lot of interest on my stable coin. If you go to Coinbase and put your money in USDC or RLUSD, then you're going to make interest on your money. But if you put it in the bank, they're going to use your money to make money, and you're going to depreciate in inflation. So why would you do that? So why don't they teach this in schools? Why doesn't high school teach this? There are so many kids in high school and college that have no idea about how bad things are really. And if you really, 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 really want to know, then you got to watch The Money Masters. All right. It's a 3.5 hour full documentary. And you might think, oh, this is ridiculous. Look, if you want to really, really know how the banks really operate and how they really think about you and me, watch this documentary. And now I recommend watching probably like 30 minutes at a time because it's long, right? So, I would watch 30 minutes at a time and you knock it out and you're going to be blown away, especially the second half. The first half is mostly about like the history of the banks, going back to like the Rothschilds and how they came about. And you may think, oh, that's boring history stuff, but it's really important to know for, because we're crypto investors. All we want to do is earn money and get our return on investment. But what this documentary will do is it will allow you to have more conviction in what you hold. Because all of us believe in crypto, otherwise we wouldn't be here, right? But some of our conviction, some of our confidence levels is higher than others, right? So if that's the case, if let's say, people are talking about a bear market right now. Bear market, oh, we're bearish, blah, blah, blah. So what that does psychologically, mentally, emotionally, it's frustrating, it's damaging, it's hard to deal with, and it makes you do bad decisions. So how do you deal with that? You watch something like this, and I guarantee you're going to feel a lot better holding XRP, even though let's say, oh, it's going down to $2. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Get over yourself. This is the way it works. This is not about today. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about next month. It's about the rest of your life. And ultimately, if you look at the stock market from the 1800s, it's been going up, 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 up. Same with crypto, right? Crypto's been going up this entire time. It's just the reason why it takes a long time is because it explodes like 10,000%, 20,000%, 50,000%. And then it has to correct for 2 to 3 to 4 years, sometimes 8 years. And then people are like, well, why is it taking so long? Well, because it just exploded 50,000%. Look at THETA. Oh, people go, oh, THETA's a dead coin. It is not a dead coin. It went from nothing to $16. It went up 50,000%. And it's only had a few years to relax. So people think, oh, it's got to be dead. It has to be. No. If anything, it's alive and well, right? It's a baby. It's a baby chart. Look. You can see that we're still going down. And I've been talking about this, right? What I've been saying is once this wave is finished, it should be done. The bear market should be, or at least the depression phase should be over, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have an A. We have 1, 2, 3. We have a B. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a C. So we're in the fifth of the fifth here. Or we're in the, or we should say we have 1, 2, we have 3. We might need 4, and we still might need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we still might need another wave down, which will be part of this bigger wave, right? So at the end of the day, people say it's dead. Well, that's what normal behavior is. Look, if we're down here and people are saying, oh, THETA's dead, that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing, because that means people are getting pushed to the emotional limit of giving up. And that's the whole point. That's what capitulation is. It makes even the hardest believers capitulate. I've been through this many, many, many times, right? And it's not done capitulating. This is capitulation. This is the last and final phase of pain, right? And people, but here's the difference. People think that it's just the beginning of the pain, right? And what I would say to that is, how could it be the beginning when the beginning was up here and we're way down here and we just created 3 waves? And if you take this whole thing and cut it in half, we met the requirement. And if you take, there's a lot of reason to believe that we should be getting a bounce after we successfully bottomed. But this does, like I've been saying, this does not look finished to me. It looks like it needs to come down and finish. So that could be 20 cents. That could be 30 cents. But if you think about it, that'll actually be a big thing. Think about how many thetas you could scoop up for 20, 30 cents. Knowing, having the conviction, remember the documentary, watch the documentary, you're going to have more conviction in what you hold, because you know the whole point of holding crypto is not because, oh, theta is this, or theta is that, or XRP can do this, or XLM can do that. The whole point of holding crypto, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's XLM or ADA or Theta or Avalanche. They're all good in their own ways. They all do certain things. They all have their attributes. But the main reason why we buy them is not necessarily for the utility value, but it's more so as an investment, right? It's as an investment. It's a percentage gain, right? So if you look at the percentages from where we are right now, not even counting back down here, because I think we will go lower. But if you just look at the percentages, I mean, just to get to the all-time high, you're looking at like almost 4,000%. So that in itself should be, a consideration of investing, right? Now, this is not financial advice. I could be wrong. Theta could go to 0. Look at that one coin, Luna. Everyone thought it was a great coin, and then it went to 0, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen with Theta, but you just don't really know. That's why you want to be more concentrated in coins that have higher chances of not going to 0, right? Like XRP, I've been big proponent saying XRP is my biggest holding by far, right? Theta is, definitely in the top 5, but that's because I just like Theta. It's not because of anything crazy. It's mainly because of how monstrous this first wave is, right? So if this is a 5-wave move, think about this for a second. You have wave 1, ABC2, wave 3, ABC4, wave 5, and then you have, a bigger problem later. But look at the difference. Look how, if you could just map out what this chart is, it's an impulse. You have a massive wave 1, you have a massive wave 2. Wave 2 hasn't finished yet, but once it does, we should expect a wave 3. And if we don't get a wave 3, then we should at least expect a retrace. Right? But that's not going to happen until this officially bottoms. And that's not going to happen until, well, let's take a look here if I can get a time frame here. Let's see. So that's a bearish engulfing candle right there. But you could see, we knew this wasn't going to be sustainable, right? Because we didn't build a base. We didn't get away from the scene of the crime. You got to get away from the scene of the crime. You had a big dump right here, and then it immediately shot up, and that's just a recipe for shorts to short it, right? So that's what they did. They shorted it, and now it's coming down. So it's got to finish. I don't know when it's going to finish. It could be 30 cents, right? This looks like it's bottlenecking. It broke down. I don't think it's finished. I think it's probably going to take the low. It's Thursday. It's the most volatile day of the week typically. And look at the day. We got some big volatile moves. I mean, we're plus, we're down today, right? 4%, 5%, 8%, right? Tomorrow will probably be even worse. We'll see. Not in terms of price action. We could get a bounce tomorrow. Friday, the last 2 Fridays have actually been very bullish. So if we can kind of come down here and finish, maybe tomorrow could be a decent spike to the upside. But yeah, do I think Theta is dead? No. I think the crypto market is resetting itself. And it's basically purging itself. It's cleansing itself. It has all of these bad trades, all of the over leveraged infestation. And it's basically purging itself. It's cleansing itself to the point where people say, oh, Theta's dead. Or, oh, this is dead. That's the whole point, is to convince people that it's dead so that everyone gives up, everybody walks away, and then there's no one else to sell, and then the buyers come in and scoop up, and then who's going to sell it? Everyone already sold. Everyone's already sold. So if you sell it already, then, who's left to sell? Nobody. And then what happens? You go into the depression phase. Look how long this has been psychologically happening here. If you just take a look, this was back in February of 2024. So that's a whole year. We've been basically going down for 2 years, guys. We've been getting crushed for 2 years. Think about that psychologically, how that impacts people's, belief and their conviction and stuff like that. That's why I say watch the documentary. You're going to have a very strong belief because crypto is real money. And eventually we will use crypto as real money. It's just a matter of time. But essentially, you could see we started all the way here, but we've been going down, 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 basically all year, right? And then we started going up a little bit, right? A little bit of a retrace, but then there's November. Look at that. November and December marked the top. And then we've been going down, 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 down. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Basically, all year we've been going down. Think about how psychologically wrecked people are. And they think, oh, this cycle, they reference this cycle. Oh, this cycle's over. How? We're not even in a cycle. We're in a bear market. Like, there is no bull market. Only in Bitcoin is a bull market. People think that we're in a bull market only because Bitcoin's in a bull market. That's not the case, right? The whole crypto market has to be together, right? So if you look at SHIB, which is just a random meme coin, or if you look at Polygon or AVAX or THETA, right? These coins are not in a cycle. They're in a bear cycle. So they're closer to the end than they are at the beginning. People get really, really bearish when they think it's just getting started. But they don't realize once people feel that way, it's already almost over. They just don't know it yet. So I think what's going to happen is I think this is going to come down and finish. I think we're gonna settle out in here, and then I think we're gonna go back up, and I think we're gonna get a retrace. But we have to go through the painful part right in here, which is the capitulation and the sidewaysness after capitulation. Right? This sidewaysness left this going up. This sideways left this coming down. So, I mean, just look at Filecoin, for example. People think that we're just going into a bear market. How? How is that possible? We've been in a bear market since way over there. This is all bear for years and years and years and years. For 4 years. So we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. This is capitulation in here. So once it's done and then it sort of levels out, anytime you get a big move down and a big move up, you got to come back down, you got to level out, build some support, and then start going up. Right? Or it's just going to go to zero. It could fall a lot more before it starts to go back up. We know that. But, I still look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A. You got 1, 2, 3, B. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. So you do technically have a three-way move here. So if we get 3 down, we should get 3 back up, right? 3 up, 3 down, we should get 3 up. And then it moves in sort of like a flat. But that's just going to take time. So, if you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, I mean, honestly, where's the cycle at? It's, if Bitcoin is so great, then it should be way lower than it is now, right? The fact that XRP is the same price as Bitcoin was relative to itself back in 2019, and Bitcoin's had how many halvings since then? I think just one, right? Yeah. So it's had a halving, and it's still the same price. So explain that to me. And there's more XRP today, right, than there was back in 2019, and yet it's still the same price. That shows how strong XRP really is. So at the end of the day, the whole point of this video, right, is to explain, look, crypto is not going anywhere. Your emotions are. So if you could just channel all of the frustration and resentment you have towards things you have no control over, which is already bad enough, it's important to just take a step back and look at the bigger picture, right? And write President Trump a letter. Say, look, man, I'm frustrated with the crypto market. I thought you were a crypto president. What's going on? Ask him about the Fed. Just go to the White House. Just go to Google right here and type in contact President Trump. And then hit contact us. And then scroll down and fill out your information. And you got 4,000 characters. So, I would ask him about the Federal Reserve. I would ask him about crypto. And I would say, why can't we just get rid of it and go to a gold standard and use crypto? If you could get 50 people to do that, I mean, I think it could be a little bit of a dent, right? It all has to happen in numbers, right? So why doesn't all the crypto people, you have how many crypto influencers that have millions of followers and all that? All they have to do is just do what I just did. Tell President Trump. If we can all message him at the same time with the same concern, then it'll be noticed. It has to be. They're not going to not read it. Again, if you wrote, a terrorist plot to President Trump, you don't think the Secret Service is going to know? Somebody's going to read it. Trust me, somebody, you think, I'm not going to write it because Trump's never going to read it. It's a waste of time. No, somebody will read it. I promise you. Somebody has to read it. They have to, by law. Because what if it's a threat? What if it's something that they have to know? What if you're an informant and, there's a nuke under LA and you're the only one that knows and you have no one to, you know what I mean? Then you would just contact the FBI. But if you want to remain anonymous, just write the president. Say, look, man, there's a bomb here. Somebody's going to read it. So, thank you, everybody, so your homework for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, write President Trump, buy more crypto, and watch this documentary. You can never have enough crypto. You can't. You just can't, right? So if you're saving money for a wedding, if you're saving money for a house, if you're saving money for a car, remember that money is getting eaten up by inflation. Now, if you put it into XRP, XRP can eat it way faster than inflation, right? If you bought XRP at 220 and then it drops to $2, you just got killed, right? But keeping in mind a time horizon that makes sense, you have to, it's all about the psychology, right? Markets are pure psychological. So as long as you have your emotions and your psychology correct and your conviction correct, that's why I recommend researching banks like this documentary and watch the whole thing, especially the end and the middle. It's really good. And then it makes holding crypto easier because the end game, right? All fiat currencies go to zero eventually. If you look at every fiat currency throughout the history of the world, they all end up going to zero at some point because they hyperinflate. And I think that's the whole point, right? In order to destroy the currency, you have to inflate the currency. So knowing this information, when you go buy crypto, and then let's say crypto goes down 10, 20, 30%, and you feel bad about it, you don't feel as bad about it because eventually it will come back 10 times stronger. You just have to wait. But waiting and being in limbo is very difficult for people. But having conviction, like, you're graduating college and your dad is supposed to be there watching you graduate and he's not there, but he's coming, he's on his way, and then you look up and there he is, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things where you just have to have faith and you just have to have conviction. And the best piece of conviction is actually the chart itself, right? And also the ammunition that we're getting, right? We just had the XRP ETF. You go, well, how come we're not at $10 right now? Well, again, sell the rumor, right? Or sell the news. And we still have to wait for the other big ones to come out. And we really need it like a social media push to actually push it out there and to get people hyped about it. But that's just a news. That's just a liquidity pump. It's the real aftermath of the ETF, the XRP ETF, is going to be bigger than just a flash pump or a flash crash, right? Like, let's say, BlackRock ETF is approved and it's going to start trading tomorrow at 5 o'clock or tomorrow at open. What happens? You get a flash pump or something. But we don't want a flash pump. We want actual people buying. We want people accumulating in here, right? And that's where I think we're going down. We're going down into this accumulation area, right? And we got to create a little bit of structure in here. Just like this is a perfect example right here. You see that structure right there? That's what I want to see down here. And then I want to see it build, and then break, right? So that's how I see it. Now, worst case scenario, let's say this keeps coming down and down and down and down and down, and we get really beat up all the way into the dollar level. Well, then it's the same thing. I expect it to flatten out, and I expect it to then go back up, right? So it's either going to happen in this level up, or we're going to come down to this level, then go up, right? It's got to be one of those two levels. If it's not, and we break below that level, well, then we'll just reevaluate, but I highly doubt that, right? Remember, XRP has been going sideways for 8 years. It's destined for this moment, right? So anyways, we'll see how it all plays out. And yeah, it's exciting times. So as far as Bitcoin goes, you know, we're back below 100,000. But what's interesting is that, you know, even though Bitcoin is coming down rather aggressively compared to XRP, you know, you still have, like, for example, XRP versus Bitcoin doing not too bad. So let's look at Bitcoin dominance. Actually, Bitcoin dominance had a little bit of a shift down, but now it's kind of flattening out in here, which is still good because I don't think the cycle is going to end until Bitcoin dominance comes down. And if it doesn't come down and it keeps going up, that means the Bitcoin cycle is not over yet, because Bitcoin is in a bull market, altcoins are in a bear market. That's why Bitcoin dominance is going up, right? So, you know, you just look at something like AVAX, it just looks like to me that it's going to break down. You know, it looks like it has to test this 50%. So let's look at ETH real quick, and then Monero came back down. But real quick with Bitcoin here, where'd Bitcoin go? So real quick with Bitcoin though, is it looks like we're getting 5 waves in here. So what we don't know is this whole thing going to be a flat? So 3 down, 3 up, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then it becomes a running flat, A, B, C, A, B, C, right? A running flat. And then we go up and we get one more wave or a retrace. That's what we don't know. Or is this an impulse with a 3-way pullback, right? You got 3 waves down. Well, first of all, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you got a 5-wave move up, and you got 3 waves down, and you got 3 waves up. But then look at this. You also have 1, 2. This could be 3, 4, and 5. So you have a 3, 3, 5. So you have 5 waves up, 3 waves down, and we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. We're almost there. You know, think about how many people are scooping up Bitcoin at 98K. I would imagine quite a few people are buying in here because we're below 100K, right? So if we stretch this out further, I think we're coming down here, right? We're coming down here, and it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we got to build a little bit of a base down in here, right? So that would be 3 waves up. And then once we get the 3 waves, once this is finished, then what do we expect? A retrace. We expect a retrace. And then if XRP and Ethereum start breaking out in that retrace, then we know the bear market is here for Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin breaks out and XRP and Ethereum kind of tag along with it but don't really explode, then you know Bitcoin is not over. The cycle is continuing for Bitcoin, and we're not even there yet for that rotation to occur, right? So if Bitcoin comes down here, people rotate to altcoins, and then we shoot up in a retrace, those altcoins are going to get extremely bought up. I mean, certain ones, right? So there we go. We just took the low here, but we do have a lot of support. We do have a lot of support right in here. So I expect us to get down to that level and build support in here, hold it. Because that's what we've been saying in here. I think this has to come down a little bit more, which it did, right? So it could even be like this. Look, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's still like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A. 1, 2, 3, B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. So you have 3 down, you have 3 up, and you have 3 down. That's a W, X, and a Y. and then you build your base, and then you go for a retrace. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. So let's see if it happens. Let's see if I'm right. If we break below this range, then I would look for it to retest it as resistance. And if we get through it, then I would expect a retrace. So it's a big question mark right now, right? But this is also looking kind of diagonalish, right? So if I put on the RSI, you can start to see we're getting divergence in here. But then also, let's just put on, there's the, looks like a diag or falling wedge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's getting tighter and tighter. Once it gets finished down here, I think we're going to pop to the upside. So it's only a matter of time, I think. So other than that, Ethereum also looks still like it needs some help, right? It looks like to me 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like you still need 5. So you have A and then B. Boom, boom, boom. That's B. So A, B, and then a C, right? So C could come all the way down here and retest in here before going up in a retrace, right? And then, like XLM, I just don't like the way it looks because it just looks like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It looks like it's resetting. It looks like it's bottlenecking for a big drop, unfortunately. So if we do get a big, if it drops in here and it takes the low, well, then it's going to look like a finished 3-way move. It's going to look like 3 down, 3 up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So you have 1, 2, 3, and then you have a massive wave 4. We're still in the middle of the wave 4. We still got to get to the wave 5, though. So, and this, again, same thing with XRP. So anyways, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Remember, not financial advice. I could be totally wrong. So, but this is just my opinions. This is what I think. And curious to what you think. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.